Gate Fáilte, you're very welcome to She's Ace online conference series hosted by GAA Handball. My name is Grainne McElwain and I'm delighted to be your MC today. This series aims to inspire, educate and listen, and we'll be focusing on three areas over the series: coaching and administration, participation and high performance. The aim is to support and inspire current female members, but also to encourage more girls and women to get involved in the sport. In this episode, we're looking at participation, and I'm delighted to welcome our panel here this evening. Michelle Warren is from Bourke Handball Club in Tyrone. Aishling Mullin is from Inishmore Handball Club in Galway. Mary Bourke is from Clare Morris in Mayo, and Lyn Savage is the LGFA National Development Officer. Fáilte Row, if you're all very welcome.
Thank you.
Michelle, if I can start with you, how did you get involved in handball?
I started handball whenever my children started playing. I was 28, so I was quite old to go down and start playing, but as soon as they got involved, they were lacking for coaches for wee girls, so I ended up coaching that group, and from then on I just kept on playing, going down, messing about with the wee ones, and just continued on from there.
Aishling, if I can ask you as well, Inishmore and handball, tell me that story and how did that come about?
Well, to be honest, it kind of started out of nowhere, I think. We used to play racquetball back in the alley, and then one evening, McElwain, who would be the secondary school principal on the island, came back and kind of handed a handball to us. Mm-hmm. So handball, it was known back in the day, and it kind of lost its ways. And then kind of in 2011, they brought it back, and since then, there's been a club going on the island, and it's going strong, so it's good.
Brilliant. Mary, and your experience, I think you have only started playing handball in the last number of years. Is that correct? So tell me, what enticed you to start playing handball?
Well, my daughter played handball, and I seem to be always going to training and always seem to be staying there, watching or whatever. So I got an interest in the game and kind of knew all the rules. And then, of course, the mother and daughter in the She's Ace, I got roped into that, and then I just decided then I'd take it up a bit myself. Really, it's only participation, really. Competitions, I'd enter the She's Ace and things like that, but nothing too serious, I only started really in the last 4 or 5 years, so it's great, you meet loads of ladies, and it's a way to get out of the house, away from all the housework and do something that you enjoy. I'm not a footballer. I was never a footballer, and things like that. So the handball I really liked when I started playing it, and I just got into it that way,
Lyn, you work as the National Development Officer with the LGFA. Just give me a little bit of background to your role and what exactly it entails.
Grainne, it's a diverse role, I suppose, in that we have to look after the development of the game at multiple levels. So it's everything from player to coach to match officials to volunteer development. So really trying to, I suppose, support all the people at all those levels and trying to increase participation is obviously the big thing. It's not, I know we see the showcase game on TV and stuff, but there's bigger numbers at grassroots. So it's growing that participation levels is a big part of my role.
What has been your experience, Lyn, in terms of participation of women in sport?
It's easy to talk about the participation of kids getting involved in that, but one of our biggest initiatives has been the Gaelic for Mothers and Others, because it just brought a whole new aspect to the club. It could have been a forgotten group as such of these women who had never played the sport or are coming back, and a bit like Mary said, it just added a whole new element into the club, and they're really about enjoyment. There's no competitions for them. There's nothing else, but there is a real turn of it. It's club focused, it's club based, they run it themselves. But what's great is the amount of these women who are now coming back volunteering in the sport. And I think that's something, I think both Michelle and Mary mentioned bringing kids or getting involved in coaches. So there's participation involved in playing, but then what you give back to the club is massive as well. So it's a real twofold in looking at that cohort, and the Gaelic for Mothers has really helped us with that aspect and really added a fun and social thing, which that's what it's all about. It's sport.
I'm going to come back and touch on that later on in our conversation, but Michelle, that participation for you, what was it like? What did you feel? did you find many other women involved, and when you were starting handball and getting back involved in it in terms of your children?
No, I found it very hard along them lines. Like, there was not very many females playing, and the only few that were playing were a lot stronger than me. So to get a game off them, I didn't like to ask, because I was no advantage to them, and I didn't feel like I didn't want to waste their time. So it was really hard to get a game out of somewhere. So it was, for me, I had to wait till the group of girls that I coached got up and they were old enough to play with me before I could actually get a good proper game, or else I had to play along with the boys who were on the same ball. So there was no females as such, for fun or anything like that around my age grade that would play. So there wasn't.
And how long was that going on for, Michelle?
Well, I started coaching the wee girls group, that would be about 10 years ago, and I'm not sure how long it was before I first got playing. I'd say it was probably about 5 years before I got to play good and properly, so it would have been. But
and that's a long time to wait
yeah.
to get involved. So what did you do to keep your interest alive?
I just continued on coaching the wee ones and kept on encouraging more wee ones to join, split the groups up. The main part was coaching and encouraging wee ones to play. Now the main encouragement is on trying to get adults to play.
Brilliant. Aishling, just for yourself, and I suppose in Inishmore, like, when exactly did the club get founded in Inishmore, and what was the reaction from the community and from the islanders towards it?
Well, I suppose we're very limited here on the island on our sports-wise because, of course, numbers. And I suppose it started in 2011, really, when it started to pick up. We had a lot of teenagers who were involved in the sport. But of course, once they start getting older, the dropout rate is there. So for myself, I was around 10 or 11 when I started. And then, of course, I was 13, 14. We had 5 or 6 girls, which is good for the club, I suppose. And then, as we got older, I kind of found it was just myself. So as Michelle said, it was very hard trying to get games. And you kind of felt awful trying to ask lads would they play you, because you felt almost like you're in the way almost. And of course, as they got older, they were changing ball, and then you found yourself asking kind of younger people who were in my brother's year to play me. And then I suppose you have to keep going. And then kind of now there is that standard of girls playing on the island, young girls coming up, which is great to see. So hopefully now in a few years' time, if they keep going at it, that they'll be able to be there for a game and everything like that. So I don't know. Yeah.
And what made you want to continue and play, Aishling?
I suppose it was for mostly my fitness, and in school, I'd kind of in the evening times you'd come home and it's kind of getting late in the winter time, especially the alley was there to go to. So, but especially in my leaving cert year, I was able to kind of escape from the studying and just go back in the evening times to keep playing. So it was mostly for fitness and just keep something to do, I think. And I'm very sporty, so I'd kind of always be at something. So handball was really there for me.
Mary, you were talking as well about just getting involved in recreational for that and with your daughter. Did you find that there were other mothers getting involved in the sport as well?
No, actually, in my club, I'm the only lady. And so when I kind of entered the She's Ace, I ended up, where I live, there's a club near me, Carnacon, and a few ladies started there. I'm Claire Morris, but Carnacon is very close to me, so they invited me back to train with them. And then we all got involved then in the She's Ace and all that. And so then there was a bit of a gap there where there wasn't too many women. So the county board here, actually it was Margaret Ruan, she was a coach and development officer at the time. She introduced a ladies C competition, a championship in 40 by 20. Now there's no ladies C, it doesn't go to Connacht or Ireland or anything like that. But it was just a county thing. And it was at first it was just the Carnacon ladies and me, and we ran it. I think it was the first year was 2018, and we ran it, and it was great success. Really, it was a bit of fun, It was nothing too serious. There was a bit of banter going on and all that, So then the second year it was ran again, and then we got more clubs involved. We had ladies from Newport, Ahergower, Carnacon, and again me, Claire Morris. And it was great. It was just, it wasn't going to the level of, you know, the real competition or anything like that. It was just fun, and everyone really enjoyed it. There was singles, and then we did a doubles as well in it. And it just, I think really all the women just enjoyed it, and just got them involved in the handball. And then I think this year, but of course of what happened, but it was supposed to go to Connacht this year. So it was actually a great thing really to introduce the ladies see, you know, it was great.
What I'm hearing from you talking is that it's fun. That's the big thing that seems to come
It
across
is,
with you.
Yeah.
If, for example, the emphasis was on competition, do you think that you would have been so involved in handball?
Well, I have entered competition, and when I go into the court, I do like to win. But bother me too much if I, you know, I mean, I go in, I try to play a good game and try to win. But I mean, if I come out of it, we'll come out of it friends again. We, you know, we just have the fun and laugh and all that, you know. I have entered the One Wall Championship actually, and I won the Connacht title in it, believe it or
Well
not.
done. Well done. Why not? Why not?
Then I went to an All-Ireland semi-final, and I ended up playing a girl of about 18 years of age. I could have been their mother, so that side of things, then it just got a bit too, you know, out of my depth, you know. I mean, I played the game and everything, but it was just, she was running all over the place, sure, I was dragging my heels, you know.
Yeah, so in other words, it's fun and recreation, but it's also very competitive. That's what you're telling me, Mary.
It is, yeah.
Very good. Lyn, just to go back for Gaelic for mothers, because you know, I think what you've mentioned there is that competitive. I think sometimes when people maybe get a little bit older, they have kids, they if they're very competitive, obviously they want to stay involved in competition, but they want to meet other women, they want to meet other women, and they want to kind of have that recreational, social aspect of it. Gaelic for mothers for you, how massive a success has it been, and has it been what you always expected it to be?
If I'm being honest, it probably became far bigger than we ever expected to be, because I suppose when we put it out as a project, there was a few eyes being thrown up saying, how do you expect these women to come in? They've never kicked a ball, they've never ran, never mind kicked a ball, but they've just embraced it. And I think it's been honest, when clubs seen the whole vibrancy that these group of women brought to the club, that's why they really wanted involved in it. So that's been a big thing, and it's been a huge success. Like, as you said, there is a number of women who might come back, or even we have one woman who only started but felt that little bit of a competitive edge, so she went back and played with the juniors in our club, because there is competition there in that element if they want, and she actually got to an All-Ireland final in her first year ever playing. But it's remembering those women who don't want the competition, and that's like why Gaelic for Mothers stays non-competitive. It's the ones who just want to turn up and have a bit of fun for an hour a week, have a bit of crack in the club. And then we do have provincial and national blitzes, and there is some women who just die for those days, and others who just come along because they don't want to play. But like at the minute, the problem with our national days is I think we had 18 pitches going last year with 140 teams or something, but we also have over 100 teams on waiting lists. So wow, that's the demand that's there for it currently. But that's only a positive. It just shows that when something's given to women in a participation aspect and kept local, because time is of an essence, particularly to females, whether we like it or not, with kids at home and everything else, keeping it local, keeping it club driven, and something that can just be an hour a week. But that social aspect of meeting new people, especially if you move into a new area, I think that's the essence of getting more and more females involved. And certainly handball has a perfect opportunity there. I know when I was at college, it was probably my recreational thing. I played football, but recreationally, there was a guy who was a really good handballer, and he took us into the court, and it was great fun. So like, there's just such opportunities there, because a lot of handball alleys, etc., are local. So the recreational thing to me has been key. And then if they want that competitive edge, there's always the team in the club, etc. But the massive cohort will want to just play for fun.
Michelle, just to go along with that, I suppose, you know, we have the competitions, we have the recreation, we've seen the success of Gaelic for Mothers, but for you, I suppose, to get more women involved in handball so that they're not waiting like yourself for 5 years for a game, what would you like to see GAA Handball doing?
Well, I think GAA Handball are very proactive as it is, you know, with the She's Ace. That's a brilliant tournament to get lots of ladies out there. I think they'd be afraid to come out if they know that there's no men watching. I think that makes a big difference when it's mainly all the females to get them out to begin with. I know up within our club and in Tyrone, we'd be proactive as well. We have a great group of ladies that come every Tuesday evening after the wee girls training, and they go in and they wouldn't have never played. They might have been camoes or footballers, but they never played handball, and they go in and they have the enjoyment of it. And also mummies that come to lift their girls, they say we never had the opportunity. So of course we set up a wee group for them and they can come in. So just keep on building on that, and if every county and every club kept on building upon that, it would be great. I tell them you don't have to compete, come in and enjoy it. And them ladies that go in there, you can hear them hooting down the, the driveway because they're having that much fun. The men come in and they know that the ladies group's in because they can hear the laughing. They really enjoy it, and it's great to be part of it. It's great to promote it. Just onwards and upwards from that, if everybody pushes and pushes.
Aishling, for yourself, like, what do your friends think, you know, maybe the friends that have left the sport behind them, like, what do they think about you still being involved in handball?
To be honest, when they tell me, they're saying they kind of wish they kept at it. But I always tell them, like, sure, you can always join back. But I think they find that it's that big gap in the competitiveness of it, and then like from the fun as well and the competitive of it. But like with the college handball now as well, the ICHA, they have it's all for all standards, from beginners to people who've never seen a handball in their life, to those who've been playing all their life, and those as well that just enjoy playing it. So it makes such a difference. Like, everyone kind of has their own grade they play, and it's for enjoyment. Like, I've never seen the competitive side of it. Like, there is, of course, in the court, but once they're outside the court, everyone's best friends. You know, there's no like difference. And the traveling you do with the sport, and like, for example, like for the Worlds last year, I don't think I would have gone. Only the girls I met in college, we all decided we'd go together. Like, we didn't want to be putting it on our families or club members to travel with them, so we all decided we'd go together to the Worlds, and it made such a difference because it was just such a nice kind of adventure for us, and we all met in college and everything, so it was just so nice. Like,
What do you think, Aishling, could be done to get more girls and more women involved in the sport?
I don't know. I think just the promotion of it is always there, like, but I think it's those like encouraging people to go to the training and try it out, and just for maybe they might not like it or they might enjoy it, but once they kind of, majority of people, once they go into the court, they do enjoy it. So it's kind of getting them there to the alley. I think that's the first part of it, really.
Absolutely. And Mary, would you see that too? Like, is it a confidence issue? Do you think a lot of people just go, gosh, I couldn't feel that I can do this? But from your experience, like, has anybody that you've spoken to joined or kind of got more interested in being involved in handball, going back to it, I suppose, once they've had their kids and they're a little bit older?
Yeah, I've seen now maybe towards the end of last year and this year that there seems to be a few more joining now. They've seen that we have, you know, we're having a bit of fun and a bit of fitness, you know, because, you know, handball is, you know, it's great for fitness as well, like, especially for the older ladies, you know. So yeah, definitely there is a few more joining, and they're getting more interested. But I think what it is some of them would like to take part maybe in competitions, but the competitions aren't really there for them. You know, they wouldn't be good enough to go into Ladies B or things like that, you know. But it'd be great maybe down the line if they would run like an over 40s or an over 50s in the championship or something like that. You know, they have it in the men's, but there's nothing there for the women, you know. So I think if something like that was there, the women would get involved, because it wouldn't be as, and maybe for the people that haven't played handball all their life would enter it, there'd be only ones, you know, that started late in life, you know. If there was something there for them, that way I think they would participate more. But definitely I have seen an uptake on it, joining for the fun side of it anyhow, definitely.
Lyn, the Gaelic for Mothers that you spoke about earlier, that initiative, like it's been so successful, but how do you think, or what could you see, or how could you see it working in the handball area? What would your advice be for that?
Yeah, I think from handball it could certainly work. The big thing is obviously there's local networks, and like I know it can be used on one wall, whatever's needed for handball. I think there's a few crucial things in relation to it. It does have to be club driven, because I suppose for a lot of aspects, if you're waiting on staff members, say, to have to come in, there's only so many staff. So getting the coach is key, because this isn't a coach that's going to create a world champion. This is a coach who's going to make sure they can have a bit of fun, a bit of laughter, still develop the skills. But also what's really different, I think, for this cohort of women is, yes, they get real physical fitness benefits, but what we've seen from a lot of our research is the mental benefits of this is tenfold compared to physical. So that thing of getting out for an hour, etc. So that's why the coach is key, because if they create that environment where women can come and literally forget about all the problems at home just for an hour, you have them for life. And from everyone has something that they really enjoy doing, and it's the 1 hour a week that you're going to lock away and make sure nothing gets between you and it. So for clubs around the country, that's what I'd recommend, is try it out. You only need one wall or whatever it is to get the ball going, but get the right coach. That to me is the key of the whole thing. And we've seen some clubs not continue where the coach thought they were going to win in All Ireland, and they got a book, because the women, don't get me wrong, they've got so much better over the last few years, but they still are there for the social aspect. So my biggest thing is, and also don't just wait in the club to do it. If you're a group of women watching this at home, why not try yourselves to drive this in the club, and have a look at some of the videos we have on that. And there's even video around the type of coaching is on the YouTube channel, and anything like that can help with any handball clubs. Feel free to make contact, and we can give a bit of advice and guidance on some of the learnings. But yeah, get a good coach and have a bit of fun. That's the big things.
Michelle, would you notice that there's an area now there, maybe in your club as well, for getting more mothers involved? Have you seen that over the years, or what advice would you say maybe to people watching that are kind of sort of, I suppose, in doubt about joining?
That's always the way. It's always the mothers are running around every evening of the week between one thing or other, between dancing or football or handball, and they never have a wee minute to themselves to do anything. Some of them just go home to do housework and go to work themselves. So it's nice for them to have that, like Lyn says, that hour to themselves, and they thoroughly enjoy it. So even in handball, they don't even necessarily need a coach. When they're in there for the fun aspect, they're just going in and beating the ball around, and they're thoroughly enjoying it. So just mainly promotion. I don't think handball does get probably enough promotion as what it should, in the media, so it doesn't. But it would be nice if we could get it publicised a bit better and keep on encouraging more and more mothers as such. I had tried to implement a handball for mothers and others thing into the club, but was trying to get them to go in there. Like, I know whenever I went, I was considering doing the Gaelic for mothers and others. What put me off was a lot of them had already previously played football. So I think the fear of people was the same with the handball. They think that it's going to be people who have played before, and they're afraid to go in and compete or play because they think it has to be competitive or serious, whereas it really doesn't. With that, it's just the fun and getting that wee bit of physical fitness every week, even an hour a week or 2 hours a week, whatever you can get fitted in. It's just great to get doing that.
So Aishling, in terms of what we heard about promotion and maybe marketing handball, do you have any ideas or any, I suppose, feelings about maybe how it could be done better?
I suppose it is a tough question. Like, you don't know what you can always do better. Like, there's always something to fix, I suppose. But just in the terms of having to, like, getting girls knowing about handball, I think is kind of, I don't know how to say, like, get, like, the fear, I think, of going into the alley and being afraid that you might not be able to return the ball, or you might not be able to give a game or something like that. I think just we need to get rid of that barrier, I think, because once they realize that it doesn't matter, like, at the end of the day, it's only a game, but it's just trying to get the girls into the court. I think it's a little bit of fear, I think, sometimes, but once you've passed the fear, I think we just need to kind of promote a way to get, I don't know, to encourage girls, I think, into the sport, I think, more than anything else.
And from what you've seen, Mary, as well, is there any group in particular that you'd like to see more encouraged being brought in handball, or would it just be across the board from your experience?
Well, yeah, again, as I said, if they introduced maybe a 40s or a 50s or something like that, you know, but not too competitive, you know, I think maybe that's what's stopping a lot of them, that if they're afraid they'll come up against, you know, these girls that are at it since, we'll say, they were 9 or 10 and they're maybe 26 or 27 and they come up against them, you know. I think that probably puts them off a tiny bit. But as I said, there is a lot of them in it at the moment, and it's for fun. So maybe if we could encourage them to kind of maybe get into a few competitions, you know, it might encourage them, you know, if things were done maybe differently that way. But again, as everybody said, there's not enough promotion really in handball. It's not getting enough, even on the television or anywhere like that, you know, nobody, it's kind of the sport that's down there at the bottom, you know. It would be great to rise it above the bar a bit, you know, somehow.
I'm going to move on to promotion in a second, but I just want to ask about your daughter, Mary. Like, what does she feel like when you're out in the court with her? How does she enjoy it, or what does she say?
Well, actually, Dara Ruan, he's the national tutor for the GAA, and he was coaching my daughter at the time when I got involved, and he'd asked me to wait. You know how you have to have a parent there, and I'd wait, and as I said, I got interested in it that way. She actually didn't mind. It was her that encouraged me really to go into the mother and daughter and the She's Ace, you know. But I mean, that was only a bit of fun, you know. I mean, I'd probably stand back at the court and let her do all the play, you know. But no, in all fairness, she encourages me. She doesn't mind. She's not playing as much as she used to. She did the leaving cert, so. Probably now when she goes to college, she'd probably take it up more again, you know. But no, definitely, she'd encourage me to play, and she'd always be, you know, no, nothing there. I'd be trying to beat her, but of course I'd never would. So.
Not yet, Mary. Not yet. Lyn, just that idea of promotion there, because ladies football not that long ago would have been exactly in that same situation where promotion and getting airtime and getting media coverage on it would have been very, very difficult. So what would you say to handball about promotion and trying to get more exposure of the sport?
Yeah, it's funny. It's kind of following on from a conversation I had today with the 20 by 20 campaign, and obviously it's coming towards an end with the final chapter, but where COVID, I suppose, has really hit a lot of sports when they're talking about sponsorship and participation numbers and stuff. In a way, it's actually driven a lot of women to do stuff for themselves. And what I mean by that is, like, there's record numbers of streams of games taking place in multiple sports over the next few weekends, which has never been seen, ever. So, like, I know for ourselves, we would have had the same conversations as all the women there are after mentioning around the frustration of maybe not the same media space or not the same, but sometimes as an association or as an NGB, it's taken a hold of that as well. And how can you put your reports out there? So from ourselves, like we have match reporters putting it out there, but also the streams, like people now are on social media. So I think it was Aishling mentioned a really good point about like it's seeing more people playing it and playing it to the level. I know myself, I went to the World Handball Championships in City West a few years ago, and even I was buzzing after it, and I didn't have a background, but you were seeing the level that it could be played at was really good. So like I think for promotion wise, it's showcasing like even some of the brilliant women that's on here tonight and the stories they have of how they got involved and what their levels are, putting out little pieces. And a lot of people don't like to read anymore, they like to watch, even if it's only 30-40 second clips. And I think the more stuff that can be put out there about the athlete, but also I suppose the person behind the athlete, is a real big thing to get people to say, well, I could be that person. And even promotion wise, linking with other sports, because if you have a cohort of females playing recreationally in other sports, Like for ourselves, we're recently linked with Athletics Ireland because they have a Fit for Life programme, which is literally just running. So those women are now doing a little bit of kicking with the ball at another stage. But like for handball, they're ideal because a lot of those sports are played during the summer. They're looking for activities to do during the winter, which could be indoor, etc. So linking with other sports also could be a massive way of promoting their game and giving them something to do during winter and summer months. But I think showcase the brilliant females that's involved, right from the person who's literally hitting the handball for the first time through to the world champion, and you'll see yourself in one of them.
We're coming towards the end of our talk here today, but Michelle, I suppose finally just to maybe wrap up and looking at success in handball and where it's been, but over the next 3 to 5 years, Michelle, like what do you think success will look like for handball?
More people playing. I think that's the main thing. More people getting in, having a bit of fun. I think a lot of the fun has gone out of the game. Everybody's taking it too serious. They're all in for the win now from all ages. I know, especially for girls in around leaving cert age and all that, it's hard for them, you know, when they get out of it a wee bit, they kind of don't want to go back because they've lost out on time training as hard as what they could, and then they don't want to go back and play. So getting them back into the alley and even enjoying the game rather than competing is the main thing. So the thing I see for the future is getting more girls to come back after they've done their exams, because boys seem to play on the whole way through, but girls seem to drop out more so than the boys do. So more and more females getting into it and staying and enjoying it. That's what I would like to see happening. A wee bit more promotion.
What would you like to see, Aishling?
Just similar to Michelle, like getting girls to stay playing the sport like throughout secondary school, making sure that they stay at the sport, especially during exams, that they don't kind of drop it, and then that they do know that there is that level from secondary school to college handball. Like it's enjoyable, it's not anything too serious. Like there is the competitive side, but there's also the fun side of it. And then from there, really, once you kind of stay at it, you kind of find yourself becoming friendly and everything with everyone, and I find it easier to go and enter competitions. And that's the key element from that jump from teenage years to adults. I think it's important to keep girls playing, like, so that's really yeah.
It's interesting because it's definitely something that we're seeing in all women's sport about keeping girls involved.
Yeah.
For you, Mary, next 3 to 5 years, describe success to me from a handball point of view.
Oh, well, I'm going to go on and I'm going to win a world championship. Yeah.
I love it. And why not?
No, for me, it would be like what everybody else said, really, is to get more women involved. And as my own daughter, to get her back into the court now again would be nice to see as well. As I said, she did her leaving cert. She was out of it for 2 or 3 years there. But I don't know, was it Michelle or Aishling that said there? Yeah, it's when they come back into the court, then they feel they've lost out on so much, and it's hard then to kind of get back to the level they were at. But I think if there was a bit more fun, involved and all that to encourage them back into it, you know. Also, I'd like to see maybe the different age groups coming into the ladies handball, and I think that would encourage definitely a lot of the older ladies to come into it, you know. As in 3 to 5 years, more media coverage as well, really. There isn't enough media coverage for the handball community at all, you know. I think if there was something there, that there was podcasts casts from every club or something, and that it was all put together, you know, into some sort of a video, you know, I think something like that. But as Lyn said there's people don't pick up and read anymore. It's what you see. So definitely more videos and things like that on promoting the handball.
Brilliant. Well, there's lots of fantastic ideas there from this evening. And Lyn, from your own perspective, and I suppose an overall view of women's sport, handball, ladies football, camogie, whatever it may be, describe success in that vein over the next 3 to 5 years for you.
Yeah, I think everybody's going to mention participation numbers and getting more females involved, but to me it's more than that. It's kind of a lengthened pathway, because we have so many females, big massive numbers playing the game, but where did they go? So if we could lengthen the pathway that they start to come into coaching pathways and administration pathways and start going back, because young girls are going to learn so much from girls who've walked in their shoes. And I think that would be a real thing of success. Keep increasing the numbers playing, but if we could start to see the other pathways growing as well. And that's where, like, I really think it's brilliant. Mary is no doubt a role model for her daughter, and no doubt will come back. And that's what I mean by they've walked in their shoes. And by seeing people like Mary and others getting involved in coaching and administration roles, like, that's success for the future, because now you're building real solid foundations. So to me, I'd love to see that in multiple sports, that we start seeing all the other strands building with females and being role models for the upcoming young stars to see themselves there in the future.
Well, so say all of us. Ladies, thank you so much. Gurmila Maigi, it was lovely to chat with you today about participation. We wish you all the very best, and no doubt we'll meet soon, I hope. Slán go fóill.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.